using your Baizhang, the standard one or the classical one, you're using this primarily with a side profile like this. And the reason why you're using this is because you want this and that to have the most reach that you can have. That's really good for intercepting or just playing the range and just getting your pot shots in. Now, but that's only, in theory, that's fine. But what's going to happen is when you start, if you have a hard time implementing your RAD or any other strategy, then there's going to be a range where you're going to end up colliding into each other. Now, this stance is going to be a little bit harder to implement because it's primarily designed for you to intercept or get shots from here and it kicks from there. Now, when you get in closer, you're gonna need to use your other tools. So the stance we adapt, if you're not using this, is you have this, but the moment you get a little bit closer, let's say you get into punching and kicking range, this is going to be a little harder because everything is in the rear back. So what you have to do is from here is you have to change your lead or your stance from here to here. So now your hips and shoulders are more squared up. It's not much of a difference. It's just from here and then you go from there. The reason why you want this is because this allows you to have better reach with both of your hands and both of your kicks, right? It's not much when you look at it, but if you start adding the Muay Thai element, especially the skip kicks or the cut kicks, this stance becomes super advantage because it allows you to do power kicks from straight up and your punches to link up with your kicks right when you're in front of it. And that makes the world of a difference when you're in your fighting stance, because now that you're here, you're not only limited to this and this, but when you're here, you have this where you can reach and you have this where you can kick. So if you look at it from here, we like to use it the boxer stance. When you have it here, this allows you to throw kicks and punches right up each other. From here, everything is a little bit further back, so when you kick, everything has to be way bigger. Now, if you're in a range where you're trading shots, this stance can cost you a few precious seconds. So when you're here, the forward body boxer stance from like this is better because this allows you to hit and to link up everything better. So that's the boxer stance or the Western boxer stance that we use right after you close this range. Now the last one we do is from here is when you get into your trapping range or your clinch range. Now this kind of angle where one is in front of the other or staggered, it's not so good because now you're going to need everything to be lined up because everything has to have the same amount of range or same amount of distance. So if I'm like this in my fighting Western boxing stance, now if I extend my arms, you're going to see they're not the same range. I'm going to have a problem when I start trapping or if I'm trying to clinch. So you want everything to be from here to straight up forward like this. This allows you to have the same amount of distance between your hands and your feet. Especially if you're going to start grabbing stuff or trapping stuff, then you will need this to make up for it. Because if the moment one is in front of the other, this can't help as much as this one can. So that's a different type of range. But the fourth one is a variation of those three. For those of you who have done, when you all start from this or these two, right? Or in any of these variations. Now, when you start adding your panatukan, your destructions, this stance somehow, for most of us, becomes obsolete because now you will need your elbows to do some kind of extra work in destructions. And this is just not fast enough. It's not fast enough in the context that if I'm here and I need to do a lead destruction, I need to lift my hand or my elbows all the way up to connect. That takes too much time. So most of us that's gone through the Panatukan program, we go from the just standard, phase 1, phase 2 material, and we go to phase 3, and Panatukan is a part of that. Everyone goes from this to this. And the reason why, what you're doing here is you're extending your hands and you're keeping your fingers right above your eyebrow. The reason why you're doing this is because there's a shorter distance between your elbow up to the same level of your face. That opens up for destructions and a whole bunch of other wonderful stuff. So you need that. Plus, it's not much of a difference between here and here from there. It's not much of a difference. This allows you other things. Plus, you get the added benefit that when you're here, this is more of a passive stance. This is a non-aggressive stance. This one is what we call the defensive triangle, because if you look at it, if I exaggerate the movement, you have a triangle like this, see, going here. Now if you look at it from side, it's a staggered. One is in front of the other, and it's not far from this, right? So if you're trying to do destructions or interception, this is really good. If you're doing something that's a little bit more purely interception, this stance is maybe not so good, and this one is better because now that gives you the longest reach to kick and punch. But they're workable. Now I'm going to end with a secret on this thing. When you're doing this, and I'm saying this and not these, this is all fluid. It's not one structure. It's not I'm switching from this, this, and that in here. This is one structure. It is one structure that's fluid, that adapts accordingly to the range and the situation and whatever it is that you're trying to put in or implement. This has to be fluid. It has to be organic. It has to flow in relation to you and your opponent and the situation you're in.